He thought he was getting a veteran's discount, but what the salesman did next nearly cost him everything until the CEO showed up. Jake Thompson leaned against the hood of his aging pickup, the engine sputter fading into an unsettling silence. Dusk painted the sky in bruised purples as he popped the hood one last time. Nothing but a loose belt whipping in the fading light. He inhaled the cool evening air, tasting dust and distant pine, and flicked his hand in frustration. He'd served 2 tours overseas. He could handle a HMMWV in a sandstorm, but a failing serpentine belt on a lonely highway felt like a betrayal. Take a second to subscribe. It really helps. Thanks. Now back to the story. A rumble of tires interrupted his thoughts. A sleek silver SUV eased to a stop a dozen feet ahead, headlights bathing the cracked asphalt. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a man in a crisp shirt and tie, a polished smile in place even as he leaned out. "Evening, sir," he called, voice smooth. "You look like you could use a hand." Jake glanced at his watch. Already after 6. No cell service, no passing trucks. He unclenched his jaw. "My toe only goes one way," he replied, unease curling in his gut. "Where'd you get the suit?" The salesman chuckled, reaching into the back seat and pulling out a reflective vest and jumper cables. "Business necessity," he said, handing over the vest. "Name's Rick Malone. I'm up the road at Malone's Auto. We help stranded drivers, especially veterans." He winked, as if that settled it. Jake weighed his options. He'd been ready to set up camp overnight, but the promise of a tow truck within the hour sounded better than cold coffee and chipped highway rest stops. He shrugged and tugged on the vest. "I'm Jake." "Appreciate it." Rick popped the hood on the SUV, revealing a spotless engine bay. He offered a hand up. "Hop in. I'll get you somewhere safe." Jake hesitated. Flashbacks of IEDs and ambushes made him hyper-aware, but nodded. "Lead the way." As Jake climbed into the passenger seat, he studied Rick's mirrored sunglasses, the Lots address scrawled on the business card clipped to the visor. The engine hummed to life, and they slid back onto the road. Jake gazed at the darkening tree line, hopeful for help but wary of what awaited him just down the highway. The SUV's suspension absorbed every dip as Rick Malone steered onto a side road branching off the highway. Jake sat rigid, backpack slung over one shoulder, scanning the dark forest on either side. The stranger's polished demeanor felt at odds with the rural grit. Rick glanced over, warm in the glow of the dashboard lights. "You've served your country, Jake. You deserve a fair deal." His tone carried practiced sincerity. "Malone's Auto is offering a veteran's special tonight. No hidden fees, just honest work." Jake folded his arms. "I'm not in the market for a car," he said, voice steady. "Just a tow." Rick nodded sympathetically, signaling a smooth U-turn. "I get that. Trouble is, my tow drivers are booked solid. But I can make you an offer. Take a look at a vehicle I've just gotten in. If it runs, I'll deliver it to your place at cost." Jake's mind raced. The pull of convenience warred with caution. Night test drives always set off alarms in his training. "I'm just worried about being stranded," he said. "I can't afford another breakdown." Rick smiled, tapping the console's edge. "That's why I do this. Look at it as service to those who served. I won't pressure you. If you like it, we talk price. If not, I'll still get you towed." He flicked a switch, and the GPS lit up with an address. A few miles ahead. Jake exhaled, tension easing. "All right, show me." Rick's SUV eased into the lot, rows of cars illuminated by stark floodlights. He parked beside the entrance as Jake surveyed the lineup. Sedans, crossovers, a few trucks, all promising reliability under the harsh glow. Rick popped his door open and held out a set of keys. "That one," he said, nodding to a sleek dark sedan at the lot's far end. 2009 model, low mileage, just serviced, supposedly. "Take your time." Jake accepted the keys, stepping out into the cool night air. He circled the car, checking tire treads, scanning the bodywork. Foundations of trust in the veteran's code. Rick watched patiently, posture relaxed but alert, as though ready to step in the moment suspicion flickered. Jake paused at the driver's door. With a nod to the helpful stranger, he slipped inside, bracing himself for what the night held next. Jake's flashlight bounce lost its edge against the sedan's dark paint, but the broken street lamp overhead cast enough light for a quick inspection. Rick followed at a polite distance, hands tucked into his jacket pockets. Jake ran his fingers along the hood, feeling for dents or uneven spots. The metal was cool to the touch, sleek and unblemished under the murky glow. He dropped to one knee to check the tires. Ample tread, no bald spots. Rick offered a low whistle. Diamond in the rough, right? Jake straightened, nodded curtly, then moved to the driver's door. He hesitated, key hovering. Rick watched patiently, the lot's other vehicles standing silent sentinels around them. He opened the door and peered inside. The leather seats looked pristine, and the dash gleamed. But veterans learned to look beyond shine. Jake checked under the floor mats. No misplaced tools or hidden stains. He lifted the driver's sun visor, scanning the maintenance sticker. 2 months ago, oil change. For months, brake pads. He frowned as he noticed no recent alignment check. Rick cleared his throat. All that and more in the service records. He patted his inside coat pocket. Jake dropped the visor and slipped into the driver's seat, settling in. He started the engine. The hum was smooth, too smooth. He revved the throttle lightly. The engine's pitch climbed without sputter. He shifted into drive, the automatic transmission clicking precisely. "Let's take her out," Jake said, voice low. Rick clicked the lock key fob, the perimeter gate unlocking with a mechanical groan. They glided onto the back lot's exit. The night air held the promise of distance. Jake kept a bare grip on the wheel, scanning headlights in the distance. Rick slipped behind in his SUV, taillights a steady glow. They merged onto the highway, the sedan's engine humming. Jake tapped the brakes rhythmically, hard then soft, to test response. It felt crisp at first, until the brake pedals sank lower than expected on the third test. He frowned, arranging his expression into neutrality. Rick's SUV came alongside. "All right?" he asked, voice calm. Jake swallowed. "We should talk about those brakes." His tone carried resolve. Rick's smile wavered, but his eyes remained steady. "Minor tweak," he said. "I'll get it fixed." As they slowed, the lot's lights vanished behind them, replaced by the dark ribbon of highway ahead, and the unspoken question of how far Jake would let this ride go. Jake guided the sedan onto a side road, the pavement rougher here, perfect for testing the suspension and brakes. The engine purred confidently as he accelerated, then tapped the brake pedal. It responded, but the car drifted slightly to the right. He frowned and straightened the wheel. Rick's SUV pulled up alongside. "Everything feeling smooth?" he asked, tone friendly. Jake nodded, watching the gauge cluster. Suspension solid, but the steering feels off. He braked again, harder this time. The pedal sank a fraction before the car slowed, and a faint grinding sound echoed through the wheel. Rick cleared his throat. "Just a minor alignment issue," he said, voice steady. "Easily fixed during pre-delivery tune-up." He flashed a quick smile. "You're getting a steal." Jake switched lanes and pressed the pedal into the next quiet stretch. The sedan slid forward easily, but when he braked approaching a curve, the pedal went soft, and the car drifted into the oncoming lane before he regained control. His heart tightened. Rick's headlights appeared in his mirror, too close. He let Rick pull up alongside in the other lane, the bright SUV lights casting sharp shadows. "Did you feel that?" Rick asked, concern flickering in his eyes, just enough to seem genuine. Jake exhaled. "The brakes aren't holding on bank turns. Could be worn pads or warped rotors." He kept his voice even. "I need a car I can trust." Rick's jaw tightened imperceptibly. He tapped on his window frame. "Look," he said, voice persuasive, "I understand. That's exactly why we do this inspection. I'll have our tech swap in new pads and resurface the rotors. I guarantee you'll be safe." Jake hesitated, remembering the bottle of water and jumper cables. He could wait for a real tow, but he'd come this far risking Rick's promise. He glanced at the empty road stretching ahead. No lights, no help. "I'll need that in writing," Jake said finally. "And a loaner until it's done." Rick's face cleared into a practice grin. Done and done. He reached into the SUV's glove box and pulled out a branded notepad. "Sign here, and I'll arrange everything." As Jake signed, The glow of Rick's flashlight illuminated the fine print. Language about Az's condition and no liability. Jake paused, wondering how much trust was too much. The night air held its breath as he faced the real test, believing a stranger's word. Jake leaned back in the passenger seat of Rick's SUV, clutching the signed notepad. Streetlights flickered past as they returned to the lot. His pulse throbbed, each beat echoing doubts he'd shoved aside during the test drive. The fine print, sold as no liability, cut sharper than any knife. He pressed his thumb against the pen's ink stain on the pad, a reminder of the moment he'd committed. Rick parked under a floodlight that buzzed overhead, casting long shadows. He killed the engine and turned, his polite smile in place but a tension behind his eyes. "You did good, Jake. That paperwork protects both of us." He offered a firm handshake that felt more like a seal on a trap. Jake's chest tightened. "I appreciate the offer," he said slowly, voice rough. "But I'm not comfortable." He folded his arms, trying to muster resolve. "I need time to think, or at least a clear report on those brake repairs before any payment." Rick's smile thinned. He straightened, shoulders squared. "I get it. Veterans deserve the best. But my schedule is tight, my textbook's solid, and my manager's expecting that sedan off the lot tomorrow. It's a limited-time deal, Jake. After tonight, the price goes up." Jake swallowed past the lump in his throat. He'd lost count of how many times he'd been cornered, barricaded in dingy rooms, or surrounded by armed guards overseas. But this felt different. This was a man preying on his sense of duty, his need for trust. Rick stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Listen, you've earned my respect. I want to do right by you. But this deal won't wait." He tapped the notepad. "Sign here for the loaner, here for the pads, and here to authorize the rotor work. Then you can sleep easy." Jake's gaze flicked to the pad again. His thumb hovered over the next signature line. The lot was empty, the night silent except for that humming floodlight. He pictured the first responders he'd trained, how they'd stayed calm under fire. He inhaled, exhaled. "Give me 10 minutes, he said, voice steady despite the knot in his gut. Rick nodded, folding his arms. "Be quick," he said, backing away. "I'll hold the car, just this once." Jake watched as Rick disappeared into the showroom. The emptiness of the lot pressed in around him, and he realized he wasn't just buying a car tonight. He was buying his own peace of mind, and no amount of pressure would make him pay for regret. From the shadows of the service bay, Lisa Chun leaned against a stack of tire racks, arms folded. Her cover as Megan Ward had earned her a spot at Malone's Auto tonight, and she intended to make the most of it. The lot's floodlights threw pools of glare and deep shadows. Every movement seemed amplified in the quiet. She watched Rick Malone pacing by the showroom window, phone pressed to his ear. He whispered, "I got the pad signed. He's locked in." A beat. Yes, tonight's deadline. Lisa's jaw tightened. That was her cue. Earlier, she'd spotted Jake Thompson, military bearing, alert eyes, and that veteran's decal on his worn cap. He'd seemed wary from the start, like a soldier in disguise. Tonight's mission was to gather proof of shady practices, but this unexpected scenario with the veteran added stakes. Lisa tucked her recorder into her jacket pocket and moved silently toward the lot's edge. She ducked behind a sedan, careful not to catch Rick's eye. Through the glass, she saw Rick leaf through Jake's paperwork, the pen poised for another signature, one that could seal a fraudulent deal. She tapped her earpiece and whispered, "HQ, I've got a live situation. Salesman locking down a high-profile vet on as-is terms with dodgy brake claims. I need instructions." A pause, then acknowledged, "Do not engage yet. Keep gathering evidence." Lisa circled, staying out of sight, making quick mental notes. Invoice copies floated out of Rick's pocket. She'd need those. Jake's clenched fist on the notepad told her this man wasn't buying willingly. He looked cornered. Rick strode back to the SUV and revved the engine, headlights washing over the lot. Lisa retreated into deeper shadow, keeping her distance. She was ready for the moment Rick tried to strong-arm a signature or deliver a final ultimatum. Tonight, her role was clear. Watch, record, and wait for her CEO's signal. Lisa's heart rate lifted, not from fear, but from purpose. The veteran deserved better. and she would make sure the cameras captured every bit of this unfolding trap. Lisa parked her unmarked rental sedan at the lot's edge, slipping into a faded hoodie and baseball cap to complete her Megan War persona. She checked her reflection, plain hair, no jewelry, and stepped out, concealed clipboard in hand. The lot's neon sign buzzed overhead as she crossed toward the showroom. Rick Malone looked up from a clipboard in the passenger seat of his SUV. He offered a practice smile. "Evening. Anything catch your eye?" Lisa returned the smile, voice casual. "Just browsing. I heard you had a great deal on sedans tonight." She kept her tone light but observant, letting him lead her past rows of vehicles toward the dark sedan Jake had tested. Rick led the way, hand behind his back. "That one's our veteran special. Low miles, solid history. Just needs a minor tweak." He tapped the hood. "Perfect for anyone needing reliability." As Rick spoke, Lisa scanned the lot. No other customers in sight, just the two of them under the flickering lights. She slipped behind him as he opened the driver's door, noting the pristine interior. She made casual notes on her clipboard. No recent alignment. Brake pedal soft. Service records missing alignment check. Rick noticed her writing. "Taking notes? Are you shopping seriously?" He reached to close the door on her. Lisa shook her head. "Just like to compare details." She flipped the clipboard, revealing a small hidden recorder. Rick's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. She continued, "I'm doing research before making a decision. I value transparency." She met his gaze, calm but unyielding. Rick nodded, regaining composure. "Of course. Let me know what you need." He guided her toward the small office by the showroom, where harsh fluorescent light awaited. As they walked, Lisa tapped her earpiece. "HQ. I'm in position. Recording everything." She paused, then added, "This guy's slick, but I've got clear audio and visuals. Ready for the next move." Rick opened the office door, unaware that his handshake would be recorded and his sales pitch documented. Undercover, Lisa Chen had arrived, and the trap was closing in on Malone's auto. The office door slid shut behind them, muting the hum of lot lights. Rick gestured toward a worn desk, stacked with folders and rate sheets. "Let's talk numbers," he said, voice smooth. He tapped a printed invoice. "Base price is fair, $7,500 as discussed. But there are processing fees, documentation fees, and the veteran prep surcharge." He underlined a line item, Veterans Advocacy Package, $400. Jake's jaw tightened as Rick rattled off extras. Clean title handling, extended lot security, shuttle service to your home, $150. "I'm holding the offer open tonight, but I need a commitment." His tone sharpened. "Tomorrow, I can't guarantee the veteran discount. Inventory's tight." Jake frowned, thumb tracing the inflated numbers. "Why so many fees?" he asked, voice steady. "I thought this was the cost." Rick's gaze flicked to Jake's veteran cap. "In this business, service comes at a price," he said. "These aren't optional. They cover our costs." He slid a pen across the desk, the metal clicking. "Sign here to lock in the deal." Jake studied the contract, lines blurred by pressure. He exhaled, recalling the fine print. He'd already signed to authorize repairs at owner's expense and waive liability. Now these fees threatened to balloon the total. He pushed the paper away. "I need the clean price and proof of those repair costs before I sign anything else." His hand hovered. "Otherwise, I walk." Rick's smile froze. He leaned forward, voice dropping to a quiet intensity. "Jake, I'm doing you a favor. You're on my lot late at night. No tow, no backup. If you walk, you're stuck. And that veteran special? Gone." Jake's grip on the desk tightened. Memories of ambushes flared, never give an inch. He rose, posture unbowed. "I'm not signing on to be gouged," he said, tone low but firm. "Either remove these phantom fees or call my tow." Rick studied Jake, the calculated calm slipping. He tapped his wristwatch. 10 seconds, he said. Tick-tick. Jake held Rick's gaze, breathing steady. The office felt smaller now, the air thick with challenge. He weighed the risk, trust a stranger's promise, or turn away and face a night alone. His next move would decide which. Jake folded his arms, spine straight as a soldier's stance, but inside, doubt gnawed at him. He stared at the contract, the inked lines spelling out hidden fees and vague packages he never asked for. His mind replayed every negotiation, every pressured suggestion. He should have trusted his gut. Rick watched him with a predator's patience. "You know my offer is fair," he said coolly. "You won't find these terms elsewhere." The veteran discount suddenly felt like bait. Jake lowered his gaze, glancing at the lone sedan under the lot's flickering lamp. Beyond it stretched an open highway, no services, no guarantees. If he walked away, he'd be stranded. He'd already come this far. He rubbed his thumb over the contract's bottom line. As is, no returns. His finger brushed the pen ink, committed. He'd sign away safety and recourse. The weight of that moment pressed on him now. Had he been too hasty? His breath slowed, steadying. He recalled training. Assess all options. Never make a move under duress. He had the right to walk. But fear whispered. Stranded night, cold road, no tow. Rick's threats had hit hard. Rick's voice sliced through the silence. "Time's up." He tapped the desk, confident. "Either sign, or I lock the gates." Jake inhaled. He remembered his daughter's last call. "Stay safe, Dad." That was his priority. He met Rick's eyes. "You wouldn't dare lock me in." The edge in his voice surprised him. Rick's smile turned thin. "Try me." He reached for a remote on his key ring and pressed a button. The lot's gate began to rumble closed. Jake's pulse spiked. He sprang to the window, slamming his fist on the desk. "Open it," he said, voice low but commanding. "You're not my jailer." Rick hovered by his SUV, arms crossed. Rules are rules. Jake's gaze darted to his backpack on the floor. He could bolt out, slip through the gap, maybe. But Rick moved faster, blocking the door. Jake's heart thundered. He realized the real trap. A veteran's need for reliability used against him. Night air felt farther than ever. Rick leaned in, whispering, "Sign, or you stay here until morning." Jake's fingers trembled over the pen. His doubt warred with necessity. He closed his eyes, searching for clarity in the night's hush. The next word he spoke would decide whether he conceded or reclaimed control. In a sleek high-rise office downtown, David Morales stared at the monitor flashing with customer complaints and field reports. Sales showing a spike in chargebacks. Veteran customers flagged for discrepancies. A red alert for the brand's reputation. He leaned back, fingers steepled. His company, Drive Right Autos, had built its name on trust and integrity. Stories of veteran discounts and community outreach had driven loyalty, not just sales. Now something was off. Morales tapped open a live feed from Roger, his regional manager. Roger's face blurred on the screen. "Rick Malone's lot, sir. New complaints coming in. Fuel system issues, brake failures. One involves a decorated vet." Morales' jaw set. He muted the line, then keyed Lisa Chen's extension. "Lisa, see me in 5. He closed his eyes, recalling her meticulous work in compliance. She had a knack for sniffing out deception where others saw profit. When Lisa arrived, Morales stood and gestured to the wall of screens, each streaming security footage from different lots. "I've watched the complaints. Brad's bench test confirmed faulty brakes sold as is. And that veteran, Jake Thompson, nearly bought the car." He played a clip of Rick's eager handshake. "This isn't a few bad apples. It's systemic, and we can't let it slide." Lisa nodded, taking notes. "I've been undercover as Megan Ward," she said, voice steady. "I've recorded Rick's pressure tactics and dubious fee structures. I'm ready to expose it." Morales exhaled, relief mixing with urgency. "Good. Here's the directive. You stay on the lot until you have airtight evidence, recorded admissions, full paper trail of the bogus fees, and recordings of any threats or gate locking. Then we move in." He passed her a company ID. "You're authorized to make a site visit as our CEO once you have the proof. We'll broadcast the findings. Legal and PR will be ready. Our priority, protect customers, especially veterans." Rick Malone's practices in tonight. Lisa stood, resolve in her posture. "Understood. I'll wrap it up." Morales offered a firm nod. "This is about more than one lot. It's our brand's integrity. Let's remind everyone why Drive Rights stand apart." As Lisa slipped out with determined purpose, Morales returned to the screens, watching the lot's floodlights flicker in the night. The crackdown had begun. Lisa slipped back into the lot just before midnight, the air crisp and the floodlights casting long shadows. She'd stashed a miniature recorder in her coat pocket and placed a high-resolution camera inside her purse. Tonight, she'd secure the final pieces of evidence. She approached Rick's SUV, noting the engine bay was open as he inspected another car. Without drawing attention, she lifted the recorder's switch. The distant hiss of Rick's muttered voice reached her. Just make sure the paperwork's watertight. No calling back for refunds. She edged closer to the showroom window, camera lens peeking through a gap in the blinds. Inside, Rick pored over stacks of service invoices. Lisa zoomed in on the top sheet. Veteran prep surcharge, $400. As is acceptance. No liability clauses. She snapped multiple photos, careful not to trigger the motion sensor. A rustle behind her made her pause. Lisa froze, then recognized the tow truck driver, Sam, finishing his rounds. She nodded a quick greeting. He gave a subtle nod back, oblivious to her mission. Rick stepped outside, sliding a folder, Jake's signed papers, into his coat. He spoke into his phone. He's locked in. I'll push the repair cost tonight. Tomorrow's check is perfect. Lisa's recorder captured all. She slipped the mic under a nearby vent, angled toward Rick's office door, then moved to the sedan. The front brake caliper cover was loose. She gently wiggled it to reveal worn pads. Her camera clicked shots of the brake lining barely a millimeter thick, evidence of the car's true condition. Inside the showroom, she retrieved a duplicate set of keys labeled loaner. Rick's voice answered, "Yeah, Megan Ward's set. Don't lose them." He laughed softly. Another clip recorded. Lisa stored the keys and marked their tag for later return. Before leaving, she plugged into the service bay's network port with an encrypted drive, downloading the digital files of repair estimates and invoice logs. As the progress bar crept, she glanced at Rick's silhouette under the floodlight, confident he'd never suspect the depth of her surveillance. With the file secured, Lisa retracted her tools, clipped the recorder off her coat, and vanished into the night. Armed with audio, photos, and documents, she had everything needed to trigger the CEO's intervention. Her mission was nearly complete. Jake sat at the worn desk inside Rick's office, the glow of a single desk lamp illuminating a stack of papers. Rick slid a thick folder across with flourish. "Here are the service records. Full history," he said, voice smooth. "You'll see all maintenance is up to date." Jake flipped open the folder. At first glance, neat stamps and signatures lined every page. Oil changes, brake inspections, alignments. But veterans know to read the fine print. He paused at a handwritten note. Brake pads replaced. March 2018. Yet the subsequent stamps were spaced months apart irregularly. He frowned and ran his finger down the column of dates. Several entries bore the same technician's signature, but in slightly different ink intensities. Rick watched, brow raised. "We keep detailed logs," he said. "Not many shops do that." Jake held up a page. "This says full brake service done twice this month." Rick's smile never wavered. "Top priority for safety," he affirmed. "Replaced rotors, too, cost included." Jake tapped with a pen. "But I can't find corresponding receipts for parts." He slid the invoice side by side with the records. No part numbers, no vendor stamps. Rick leaned back, arms crossed. "That's proprietary. We order in bulk." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Honestly, I don't want competitors getting my parts sources. But trust me, it's all genuine." Jake's instincts flared alarms. He looked up. "Can I call your service manager to confirm?" Rick's expression flickered. He's on vacation until next week." He waved a hand dismissively. "Look, I've got the headers, company letterhead, our official stamps. Legal seal." He tapped the paper. "These are as real as they come." Jake closed the folder, unsettled. "I need physical proof. Receipts, part numbers, third-party inspection results." His tone was firm. "Otherwise, I walk." Rick's jaw tightened. He retrieved a second folder from under the desk. "Fine," he said. "Here's the inspection report from Auto Check Services." He slapped it on the desk. Jake opened it. The date was yesterday, with a clean bill, test drive noted, brakes passing inspection. But the inspector's signature was smudged, and the company's logo looked slightly pixelated. He flipped to the back. The inspector's contact listed a disconnected number. Rick inhaled, smoothing his tie. "That's odd," he said, voice thin. "Let me." Jake rose, closing both folders. "Enough." He met Rick's gaze. "I won't sign off on forged paperwork." Rick's face lost its practiced ease, revealing a flicker of panic. As he struggled for a response, Jake realized the extent of the deception and knew he had to walk away before the trap snapped shut. Jake slammed the inspection report and service folder on the desk, voice low and controlled. "This is a sham," he said. "Those stamps are photocopies. The inspection signature is fake, and you've tacked on fees for services you never provided." He leaned forward, gaze hard. "I'm done playing along." Rick's smile froze. He straightened, clearing his throat. "Jake, I'm trying to help you," he said, voice insulated with false warmth. "That letter from the Veterans Alliance guarantees you the discount. You saw it, signed by their director." He tapped a crumpled page on top of the stack. Jake picked up the letter and studied the signature. It was a near-perfect match, but near only counted in counterfeit. "I call the Alliance," he said quietly. "They never issued this. And you know it." He tossed the paper aside. "You've been doctoring every document to trap me into this sale." Rick's posture shifted, shoulders tightening. He paced behind the desk, circling like a cornered predator. "You don't understand business," he snapped. "Margins are thin. You get a veteran's discount, you pay a fee. That's how we stay afloat." His tone turned condescending. "Or would you rather be stranded out there in the cold?" Jake's jaw clenched. "I'd rather be honest." He rose from the chair, dialing his phone. Rick's eyes flicked to the screen. "One call, and I can have a legitimate tow here in 10 minutes. I don't need this deal." Rick strode forward, voice lowering. "You're making a mistake. This is better than waiting for nobody to come." He placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, a predator's touch framed as camaraderie. "Sign the papers, and I'll throw in free oil changes for life." Jake jerked away, eyes blazing. "Keep your bribes." He pocketed the phone. "Tomorrow, you'll have to explain all this to your CEO and the authorities. I'm not just walking away. I'm walking out with every shred of evidence you've created here." Rick's face tightened, rage flashing in his eyes. As Jake turned to leave, Rick barked, "You'll regret this, vet." But Jake's boots on the showroom tile echoed his certainty. Justice mattered more than any scam. As Jake pushed open the office door, the click of dying floodlights revealed a familiar figure blocking Rick's exit. It was Sam, the tow truck driver Jake had met earlier. His broad frame filled the doorway. Arms crossed, tow truck still idling outside. Rick's smug smile faltered. Sam's voice was quiet but firm. "He called me for help saying he'd wait here till morning," he said, nodding toward Jake. "I got the truck ready. If you had an emergency, I'd tow you. But you weren't in that kind of distress." Rick's eyes darted between the two men. He tried to regain control. "Sam, this is a private sale." "This isn't private," Sam interrupted. "I saw what happened. You're running a scam." He took a step forward. "I've been a driver here 6 months. Seen your deals with other folks, too." Rick's face reddened. "You don't know what you're talking about. Samizgo-taitant. Ido. I've seen cars backfire after sales. I've seen your prep fees. I'm done hauling for you until you clean up your act." He pointed to Jake. "He deserves better than that sedan and better than this pile of lies." Rick swallowed, scrambling for a rebuttal as Sam's unexpected appearance shifted the balance. He glanced at the office window, where Lisa's recorder sat, and felt the walls closing in. Jake crossed his arms, relief mingling with resolve. "Thanks, Sam. Let's get out of here." Sam nodded. "Glad to help." He held the door open. Jake picked up his bag from the desk and took one last look at Rick. "You'll be hearing from me and your CEO," Jake said. Rick's lips pressed into a thin line as the two veterans, one of the battlefield, the other of the highway, walked out together. The night air felt colder but clearer, guided by unexpected backup and the promise of justice. Lisa stepped into the lot's glare just as Sam and Jake reached the exit. She approached Rick's SUV, clipboard raised. "Mr. Malone," she called, voice steady. Rick turned, surprise flashing before his practice smile returned. Megan, sorry. What can I do for you? He tried to step forward, but Lisa kept him at arm's length. I'm here about these fees, she said, scanning the agreed-upon veterans package details. I've reviewed the paperwork. The Veterans Advocacy Package you charge isn't recognized by any official organization, and the service records you provided don't match your invoices. Jake and Sam paused by the open gate, watching as Rick's confidence wavered. Lisa clicked her recorder on. I'd like an explanation, please. Rick cleared his throat, stammering. It's an internal program, just for loyal customers. He glanced at the camera in her hand. You can't record. Oh, I can, Lisa said, voice firm. And I have. She played back the audio from Rick's own office. Make sure the paperwork's watertight. No defunds. The floodlights amplified the playback, carrying every incriminating word across the lot. Rick's face drained color as employees peeked from the showroom. That's taken out of context. No, Lisa interrupted, stepping closer. You pressured Mr. Thompson into signing documents that waive liability for faulty brakes. You lock him in here and loaded hidden fees. She held up the copy of the contract he'd given Jake. These clauses would have cost him thousands. Rick's eyes darted, seeking refuge, but found only the empty lot and silent witnesses. His mouth opened, then closed. Lisa turned to Sam. Can you confirm your testimony about the tow? Sam nodded. He asked for help, and you tried to trap him. Rick's shoulders slumped, his posture defeated. Lisa met his gaze. Under company policy, you're suspended pending a full investigation. I'm reporting this to our CEO moments ago. She tapped her earpiece. It's done. Jake watched as Rick sank against the SUV, the facade crumbling. Sam clapped Lisa on the shoulder. Nice work, he said. Lisa packed away her recorder. Drive Right Autos doesn't tolerate fraud, especially against veterans. She nodded to Jake. I'm sorry you had to deal with this. Jake offered a grateful nod. Thanks to you, I'm getting home safe and justice. As the lot's gate swung open, Rick remained alone under the floodlights, exposed, and Lisa's moment of truth had set it all in motion. Rick shoved his hands into his pockets, tried to muster a confident grin. You'll never get away with this, he spat, voice trembling as he stood between Lisa and the showroom's looming doors. I've got a clause in my contract, non-disparagement. You'll ruin me, and I'll see you in court. Lisa held her ground, arms folded, eyes unwavering. Drive Right Autos has your recorded admission of fraud, she said quietly. Your threats won't hold up when the evidence is this clear. Rick's gaze darted to the showroom windows, where the flicker of office lights revealed employees gathering. My lawyer will contest this, he said, pulling a folded piece of paper, an old dealership agreement, from his jacket. This hand-signed clause prevents me from being publicly shamed. Jake stepped forward, voice firm. You broke the law. Fraud and false advertising aren't covered by any NDA. Rick's knuckles whitened on the paper. You don't know what you're dealing with. He inhaled and raised his voice. Everyone here depends on morale and reputation. You're taking all that and my livelihood away. Lisa tapped a finger on the recorder hidden in her coat. My directive is to protect veterans and uphold our brand's integrity, she said. Your dealership's misconduct jeopardizes both. A court will see that clearly. Rick's bravado wavered as the wind picked up, carrying the distant hum of the highway. He glanced at the open gate, then at the silent cars lining the lot. His practiced posture faltered, revealing fear. Sam stepped forward, voice low but resolute. You lost, Malone. He grabbed the clause from Rick's hand and let it flutter to the asphalt. Maybe you should start telling the truth. Rick's face crumpled. He sank onto the curb, the paper falling from his fingers. The last echo of his bluff faded in the night air, replaced by the quiet certainty that deception, once exposed, held no power. The rumble of an engine turned every head toward the lot's entrance. A sleek, black SUV pulled in, headlights cutting through the gathering dusk. Rick stirred, panic flickering in his eyes as the floodlights revealed the driver stepping out. David Morales, CEO of Drive Right Autos, unmasked and authoritative. Morales walked toward the cluster by Rick's SUV, accompanied by 2 uniformed security officers. He carried himself with a calm confidence that silenced the lot. Employees peek from the showroom windows, customers lingering at their cars. Lisa stepped aside, nodding toward the CEO. Morales surveyed the scene. Rick slumped on the curb, Jake and Sam standing firm, Lisa poised with her clipboard. He removed his sunglasses and spoke in a clear, resonant voice. "I am David Morales. I believe we need to have a conversation." Rick scrambled to his feet, smoothing his jacket. "Mr. Morales," he stammered, eyes wide. "I." Morales raised a hand, quieting him. "Save it." He turned to Lisa. "You've done good work uncovering these practices." He glanced at Jake. "And you're the veteran who nearly fell for this scam. I'm sorry this happened to you, Jake." Jake inclined his head, expression respectful but relieved. Morales addressed Rick directly. "Your actions tonight violate everything Drive Right Autos stands for: honesty, integrity, and respect for our customers." He signaled to his security team. "Please escort Mr. Malone to my office for further discussion." Rick's face drained as he was gently guided toward the showroom. Morales watched, then turned back to Jake and Sam. "I want to personally thank you," he said. "No veteran, or any customer, should ever be treated this way." He looked around at the assembled staff emerging from the showroom, some pale with shock, others proud. "This company will make things right. We'll refund Jake in full, repair his vehicle properly, and ensure Mr. Thompson never bears another cost. And we're instituting immediate policy changes to prevent anything like this from happening again." Morales replaced his sunglasses and gave a small nod to Lisa. "Well done. Let's go inside and clean house." With that, he strode into the showroom, security in tow, leaving behind a stunned lot, and the unmistakable promise that justice had arrived at Malone's auto. The lot fell into hushed anticipation as Morales stepped up to the microphone beside the showroom entrance. Under the harsh glare of floodlights, he raised a handheld PA and tapped the play button. Rick's own voice crackled through the speaker. "Make sure the paperwork's watertight. No refunds." Gasps rippled through the gathered employees and late-night customers. Morales let the recording play another clip, Rick instructing his team to inflate fees and lock Jake in until he signed. The words echoed off the cars like verdict gavel strikes. Rick, flanked by security, watched from the showroom doorway, pale, cornered, exposed. Employees pressed forward, murmuring in disbelief at the betrayal by the man they'd once answered to. Morales let the silence stretch before speaking, voice amplified over the lot. That was not a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate scheme to defraud a veteran customer. He signaled to Lisa, who held up printed copies of the forged service records and bogus Veterans Advocacy Package invoices. She distributed them to key staff and a few loyal customers, who read in shocked silence. A local TV reporter, drawn by the CEO's SUV, captured the moment live. Morales addressed the cameras. "Drive Right Autos will not tolerate this behavior. Our integrity depends on treating every customer fairly, especially those who've served our country." The broadcast feed showed Jake and Sam nodding in agreement behind him. Customers lined up at the gate, some filming on phones, as Morales announced immediate remedies: full refunds, proper repairs, and complimentary service packages for Jake and any impacted veterans. He then turned to Rick. "You're suspended and barred from any Drive Right property pending legal action." Security officers escorted Rick into the showroom, where he disappeared from view. The PA fell silent, replaced by applause and relieved chatter. Under the floodlights, the lot no longer felt threatening but cleansed. Truth laid bare, deceit dismantled, and a promise of genuine service restored. Rick Malone sat in the showroom office, shoulders slumped, as the door clicked shut behind the security officers. Across from him, a Drive Right Autos compliance investigator laid out the evidence: audio recordings, forged invoices, manipulated fees, and eyewitness account from Jake and Sam. Each piece clicked into order, forming a mosaic of deliberate fraud. Down the hall, Morales convened a meeting with his regional managers via video link. He outlined immediate actions: freeze Rick's dealership license, notify local law enforcement of the fraudulent activities, and initiate recovery procedures for all affected customers. The managers nodded, preparing to audit every transaction across the network. Back in the showroom, Jake watched Morales approach. The CEO extended a hand. "The sale is canceled," Morales said firmly. "We'll cover all your towing fees, and you'll have a fully inspected replacement vehicle at cost. No hidden charges." He offered Jake a set of keys. "We honor our veterans." Jake accepted, relief washing over him. Morales then turned to Sam. "Thank you for backing him up." He handed Sam a gift card and a letter of commendation for his integrity. Meanwhile, online and at the lot, customers learned of the same-day recall. Notices went out via email and SMS. Drive Right Autos is conducting a safety and ethics audit. If you purchased from Malone's Auto in the last 30 days, contact us for immediate review and support. The customer service line lit up with calls and appointments were scheduled. Morales walked the lot, personally greeting customers who had watched the public exposure. He apologized in person, offering complimentary vehicle checkups and service vouchers. Families that night left feeling cared for, their trust in the brand beginning to rebuild. Within hours, local authorities arrived at Malone's Auto, reviewed the files, and began interviewing Rick and his staff. Drive Right's legal team filed charges for fraud and consumer deception. Rick's car keys, sales records, and accounting ledgers were seized for investigation. As the lot lights dimmed, Jake drove off in his new sedan, brakes tested and true. Morales watched from the office window, satisfied that the scam had been dismantled and that justice and transparency had prevailed, restoring faith in every driver who trusted Drive Right Autos. Jake eased into the driver's seat of the freshly detailed sedan, the new tires gripping the pavement as if welcoming him home. He glanced over at Morales, who stood at the edge of the lot, offering a courteous nod. The veteran's discount had been honored in full. No hidden fees, no surprise surcharges, and a lifetime service guarantee was now sealed in a handwritten contract. He reached into his pocket and produced the original, fraudulent contract Rick had pressed into his hand. Holding both documents in parallel, Jake felt a surge of vindication. One represented deceit and exploitation, the other, integrity and respect. He placed the old contract on the passenger seat and ensured the new one rested safely in the glove compartment. Morales approached, extending a folded envelope. "Your towing receipts, reimbursed," he said. "We also included compensation for your time and inconvenience." Jake accepted, voice thick with gratitude. "Thank you, sir, for everything." Morales offered a rare, genuine smile. "You served us. It's the least we could do." He clasped Jake's shoulder. "Drive safely, and call us if you ever need anything."